If you're a huge movie buff, you must have noticed how most of your recent thriller, horror, dark, creepy AF watches have been Netflix productions. Be it a virus or a zombie outbreak, a deadly competition with high stakes, or gnarly creatures that you must not dare see eye to eye, they've done it all. And it's surprisingly also creative and gripping to watch. But why is Netflix so focused on this specific genre? In today's video, we tell you a few reasons why. So let's get straight into it. First up, Netflix productions have skyrocketed. Well, as if it wasn't so obvious already, Netflix has been producing a lot of content lately. The streaming giant reportedly released 129 original content titles worldwide in only the third quarter of 2021, around 60 of which were of the thriller horror league. This is going up from 125 originals released in the same period the previous year. Netflix has been expanding its content budget for several years and will most likely continue to do so in order to maintain its position as the market leader in the United States as new competition emerges. For context, this figure is much larger than the number of original series that the entire US TV industry released back in 2005. That's huge. Also, earlier, a good horror flick was a once-in-a-blue-moon sort of thing. It would take ages for the producers and the directors to come up with a legit spooky storyline. But Netflix seems to have undone that too. With almost half the content on the streaming website being thriller suspense, it's evident that Netflix has been more and more focused on this particular genre. In an era where production records seem to shatter every year, for one service to match a former output rate of the entire industry is remarkable. It goes to show how Netflix's aim to become a viable alternative to traditional television is well underway. With a content library big enough to offer all its users a range of options, from comedy to drama to rom-com to documentaries, Netflix has something for everyone. Earlier, the streaming website was seen to be focusing more on drama, romance, and comedy, but of late, the equation seems to have changed and some of the most interesting and creative concepts have been introduced to the audience. From favorites like Stranger Things, Haunting of Hill House, and Bird Box to the more recent gems like Squid Game are all some incredible thriller horror shows and films to stream. Not that we're complaining, but one would really wonder why Netflix has been more focused on dark, thriller, horror-esque content lately. There are some reasons that we believe might have pushed the streaming service to the darker side. Next, the creative aspect. We think one of the reasons why Netflix might be inclined toward producing more dark content is because of the creative angle to it. As a writer, you can literally come up with the most bizarre, unbelievable concepts and make it into a masterpiece because it doesn't necessarily need to be realistic or believable. The audience in this case is not looking to think, but go with the flow of it all. It's an easy, fun watch that doesn't require too much philosophy or theories or emotional investment. It's just a monster that induces fear and anxiety, and that too the enjoyable kind. The one with a rush. A horror thriller genre doesn't have to be about ghosts and ghouls, it can literally be about a real-life situation, only scarier and more creative. Take children's games for instance. Who would have thought a harmless game would be turned into something so terrifying and eerie? Only Netflix would come up with such a twisted concept that is Squid Game, aka the show that gave many people sleepless nights. And no, it's not entirely because of how creepy or scarring it was, but because most of us straight up binged on it. Fans literally pulled all-nighters to finish all those 9-hour-long episodes. Before this, Netflix came up with another movie that gave the audience the heebie-jeebies. As if the pandemic and the fear of uncertainty that came with it wasn't enough, the popular Netflix original Bird Box added to our misery. The movie revolved around a post-apocalyptic world where a mysterious dark entity decimates the entire population, barring a few, those who haven't seen it. There was several other such movies that got our attention during the pandemic, including Black Summers, It Comes at Night, Ravenous, and Cargo. Although some of these were released prior to COVID-19, they mainly became more popular during the pandemic because people didn't have anything to do, and how relevant these films were to the current situation caught the attention of people. Budget-friendly, low-cost content. Another reason that horror, suspense, or thriller shows and movies demand much less budget than your regular drama or comedy shows do, horror films appear to have been tailor-made for filmmakers on a small budget, requiring less money and finesse to produce than almost every other genre, making them an excellent choice for those just starting out. And since Netflix has been very careful about its budgets and profit lately, with steps being taken to charge the freeloaders and produce more content, the dark genre genre seems to be the perfect way to ensure that Netflix's recent losses are covered while also continuing to put out content. And what's better than a good old suspense thriller for that? Other than movies and shows, Netflix has also produced documentaries on serial killers that have been massive hits and were viewed by millions of people within days of release. Documentaries such as The Night Stalker, A Hunt for Serial Killer, Don't F with the Cats, American Murder, and the Ted Bundy tapes all make for an incredibly thrilling watch. Not only are these documentaries so well made, but they're also quite detailed with information about the killers and their victims that give you a glimpse into the crime scenes and what it must have been like. Also, Netflix has also commendably been very respectful while approaching the sensitive topic that many others fail to do. Next, analytics show people enjoy it. And one of the most important reasons has got to be analytics. Yep, your history plays a very important role in deciding what goes on and what doesn't. One example of this is back when Netflix made one of the most important moves it will ever make in 2011. It wasn't about the material, but about the content. They outbid big television networks like HBO and AMC for the rights to a US version of House of Cards, granting them 2 seasons of 13 episodes each. This 2-season price tag exceeded $100 million at a cost of $4 million to $6 million per episode. Netflix has undoubtedly made other significant financial investments in the past, but nothing on the content front on this scale. So why did they place such a big gamble, and how did analytics play a role in their decision? There were 3 factors that Netflix knew about its users that helped it to go ahead with the decision. Number 1, many Netflix users had watched the David Fincher directed film, The Social Network, from start to finish. Number 2, the British version of House of Cards had been quite popular and well watched among the viewers. And lastly, those who watched the British version of House of Cards also watched Kevin Spacey films and David Fincher films. Each of these 3 categories had to have a specified amount of users, and Netflix did find a large number of users in all 3 categories. And that's what made the streaming service greenlight the show that went on to become one of the most watched Netflix originals. Smart, isn't it? Netflix's data and analytics are extremely valuable, as it clearly allows them to provide a better service to users while also becoming a more cost-effective business by reducing waste and avoiding shots in the dark. According to Ted Sarandos, Chief Content Officer, Netflix aims to become HBO faster than HBO can become Netflix. They're releasing shows at a rapid pace, with the goal of introducing at least 5 new shows per year. And how does that become possible? Through user profiles and analytics. And if those are to be believed, Netflix's most recent originals have mostly been along the lines of thrill and suspense because it clearly brings in numbers. Squid Game has had a whopping 1.6 billion views in 2021. The list also includes The Witcher, You, Don't Look Up, Pablo Escobar, The Drug Lord, and Lucifer, all quite dark and full of suspense. It surely doesn't take a genius to know what the users on Netflix are more inclined towards. It drives traffic. And what happens when you give the viewers what they want? Traffic. Every time Netflix comes up with a new dark thriller venture, be it a documentary, a series, or a film, it takes the internet by storm. In today's age, the popularity of a show is measured by the number of memes that come out of it, and we've all seen thousands of memes and tweets about these originals. Squid Game, for example, was all over Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok right after its release. Fans loved the Korean version of the Red Light Green Light song and used it for hilarious TikTok videos and meme formats. Shows like You and Bird Box, too, have had their own share of popularity on the internet, with Joe Goldberg's character being used as a whole new meme format. It's all been hilarious and quite telling about how the younger audience, which constitutes the majority of Netflix subscribers, takes their content. And with that, we come to the end of this video. See you in the next one.